Your thoughts determine your actions, and your actions determine your results. It is only if you give up that failure is permanent. I always say marriage is an ancient institution. You can't live it with modern rules. Title this message, Living Outside the Box, or Loving Outside the Box. And this morning I want to speak to people who are living outside the box, who don't fit within that paradigm. Perhaps you're a divorcee. You were once in the box and you're outside the box. Or perhaps you're a lone parent. You've never been married. You have a child you're raising alone. Or maybe you're separated. You're married. You're not officially divorced, but you're not living with your spouse. Or maybe you're a never married single. You're in your early 20s, late 20s, early 30s, late 30s, early 40s. You've never been married. Or you're a widow or a widower. Perhaps you've lost a spouse. Your spouse has passed on. And you're now single again. And I also want to include in this box, or outside this box, those who are married without kids, because they are also a significant population. Now, as I speak, when I'm talking about relationships, I'm talking about life, there will be plenty to minister to those of you who are within the box. So, as I began to think about this, I began to think about, whether this was a new phenomenon. Is this a new thing that we are dealing with in our generation? And I began to look in the Bible, and I realized that the world has always been full of people who are outside the traditional marriage unit. Always been. If we look in the Bible, we see a picture of different types of people who are living outside the box. There are singles living alone in the Bible. Many of us know the story of Mary and Martha and their brother Lazarus, who was close friends with Jesus. Their story is told in Luke chapter 10. They were singles living alone. We know of people like Anna, the prophetess in the Bible. She was a widow, and she chose never to remarry. Her story is told in Luke chapter 2. We know of people like Timothy's mom. The Bible talks about Lois and Eunice, who raised a man of God. There was no mention of a dad. So we don't know what Timothy's mom's status was. Maybe she was a widower, or maybe she was a divorcee, but it seems clear that she was a single mother. And then, the woman at the well, the serial divorcee, the Bible says she was married 4 times, and that the husband or the person she was living with at the time Jesus met her was not her husband. So even in Bible times, there were people living quite colorful lives by modern day standards. We know, of course, of people like the Apostle Paul and Jesus who were single men all their lives. And we know, of course, in the Bible of married couples who lived without children for long periods, people like Sarah and Abraham, people like Elizabeth and John. So when I think about this and I do this Bible review, I've come to the conclusion that there is nothing new under the sun. Although many of us feel that our problems are new, unfortunately, they are not. They are age-old. The only thing that is different is that in Bible times, these people were in the minority. But today, they are not. Interestingly, statistics show that now married people are in the minority in the UK. So if you're married with kids, you are in the minority. The majority of the population, the statistics say that 35% of the population are single. That means, they don't have a married partner or a civil partner. They include lone parents. 9.3, almost 10% are divorced. 7% are widowed. And you know what? These statistics are only going to get worse. Why do I say that? Because we know that as a society, we have a trend towards divorce, unfortunately. But I think that what these statistics really show, what they really show to me, is that as a society, we are having very real problems with, one, forming relationships. 2, maintaining relationships. And 3, even finding them at all. Because a lot of people just simply are not getting married. So, where do we find ourselves? I find this interesting. And I say I find this interesting because I think that a lot of people who find themselves outside the box find themselves in a very interesting place. They find themselves in an interesting place because as a culture, an African culture, that a lot of us come from here, African, Caribbean culture, we place a very, very high view on marriage and relationships. So let's now look at what some of these groups may struggle with from time to time. Are we together? What are some of the things that people living outside of the box may be struggling with? The first thing that people that are living outside the box may be struggling is they may be struggling with labels. Labels. I remember our difficulty when we were trying to find a name for our mature singles ministry. Wow. I said mature singles. Some people say, mature. That means that you are telling us we are old, we are past it. I said, okay. What about singles plus? I said, plus what? Singles plus what? Do you know what happened? We ended up not having a mature singles ministry. Do you know why? We could not find a name. So we trip ourselves over labels and stigma that comes with some of these positions of living outside the box. What are some of the other things that these groups may be struggling with? These groups of people may be struggling with pressure. Pressure from people. You know, one woman told me that her mother-in-law, every time she calls, the woman will say, I'm getting old, oh. I'm getting sick, oh. I won't be here forever. There's only one thing I'm waiting for. That once she will play along with her and say, Mama, what's that? What are you waiting for? You know? And then when the mom came around, her husband's mom came down, she now called her and said, what's wrong now? I see you people every night. You are laughing in your bed. Are you doing anything in there? She said, Mama, we're having fun practicing. So there's pressure. What about managing sexual desire? I think it was Juanita Bynum that said, we have all this body. We have breasts, we have thighs, we have backsides. Hello, can we talk? Aha. What do we do with all this body that is supposed to be kept under wraps? How do we find a sense of completeness and satisfaction when we feel that something is missing out of our lives? Whether it's a husband or a wife we want, or whether it's a child that we're looking for.